Hey there friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and over the last few weeks I've seen a ton of videos claiming that Marvel Rivals is either dying or already dead, and I find that to be absolutely ridiculous. There are a lot of reasons why the game might not feel as fresh as it did at launch, and the player base numbers have dropped quite a bit, but that is pretty standard for this genre, and I want to explain why that is and why these videos don't make a lot of sense in the grand scheme of things, especially for a game that has over 100,000 players on Steam alone. And so, jumping right into it, Marvel Rivals does have some issues right now. There are some problems for the developers to fix. But every PvP game ever that is 6 months old or older has issues of the same sort. And this is not uncommon. It's also not uncommon to see PvP games rise and fall with new content. So when they drop a new season or mid-season update, that's when you're going to see the player base numbers spike. And then during the middle of those times, in between content drops, that's when you'll see it drop back down a little bit. And every single game over the course of time does decrease in total population over time. And this is for several reasons. It's especially true with free-to-play games, right? People will jump in, try it out at launch, and then as they decide whether or not they like it, they'll either fall off or stick with it. And then once they accomplish what they want to accomplish, maybe they start playing it just a bit less, and so on and so forth. Other games come out that are more exciting at the time, and they'll play those, but at the end of the day, people are going to come and go, and as long as the player base is relatively healthy, then there shouldn't be anything to worry about. And still having over 100,000 players just on Steam, that's not including other platforms, is still very, very good, especially when you compare it to other free-to-play PvP games, right? You look at games like Apex Legends, still going on, Overwatch, still going on, Warzone still going on. They've had highs and lows, and some of them might be struggling just a bit, but each one of them has had periods where people are saying that the game is dying, and most of the time the player numbers are far less than what Marvel Rivals has right now. So I don't think there's any reason to be concerned about that yet. Now, there is a chance that eventually they will continue to fall until there is a major problem, but we're quite a ways away from that, right? We have a new character coming in just a couple weeks with Ultron, and Marvel has the luxury of a bunch of characters in the background they could drop to get people excited about the game. This is especially true when we start getting one character a month, and I feel like that's going to really limit the amount of downtime where there isn't something to look forward to. And so you have characters like Deadpool who could come and really shake up the player base and get people excited. Doctor Doom coming to the game, I think, would get people really excited. You could do partnerships, collaborations, and crossovers with the MCU as you drop new characters in line with the upcoming MCU projects. And there's so much of that they can do that I think there's an endless amount of potential with this game still, even though it is struggling. Yes, like I said, there are some things to fix, but I don't necessarily feel like we are in dire straits right now, even though there's a lot of other factors as well. Like we had the support player strike where people were upset about some comments about strategists being the easiest role in the game. We've had some controversies with ranked gameplay, but we also have some legitimate esport opportunities on the horizon as well, with tournaments that look incredibly interesting. You've got esport teams being assembled as well. You've also got competition, healthy competition, with Overwatch actually delivering some promising content. Marvel Rivals likely led to some massive changes with Overwatch and them having to be on their A game, and vice versa is true as well. If Marvel Rivals starts to struggle and Overwatch is doing very well, then of course they're going to have to respond in kind. And so I think that's another thing that I think people forget, is that these things are relatively cyclical and they will have ups and downs over the course of time. The other thing I wanted to mention about these videos that I'm seeing is for the player base to keep a couple things in mind. One, when new games out, players often will burn themselves out. They will play hundreds of hours in just a short amount of time, and they will find all the flaws of the game because really the games aren't really meant for those players, unfortunately. There's no amount of content they can provide that will satiate and satisfy players who are playing 10, 12 hours a day. It's just not possible. Once you've hit peak ranked, say you've gotten to one above all, say you've gotten to the top players in the game, then those players are going to have less incentive to continue to grind because they've peaked, essentially. Same thing with players who don't play ranked. There's only so many games you can play unless there's a new map, a new character, a new mode before you get a little bit burnt out. And so I think that leads to a lot of these issues as well that people tend to not really consider. And then the final part is just the fact that there is going to be dry spells for content when there is nothing new to look forward to. So you'll have content creators who will not necessarily rage bait, but will essentially try to find the negative, try to find the controversy, try to find the spark to get people talking. And that's really where these types of videos tend to pop up the most. I've seen it a lot with games like Apex that I played for a long time, and also Destiny 2, where whenever there's a lull in content, that's when the big controversial videos will pop up, and players and content creators will talk about how the game is dying and all the things that the developers need to do to fix it, and is there any way back? At the end of the day, it's just something that I find incredibly annoying because it's such a constant state of affairs. There's even people who will say Fortnite is dying. And whether you like Fortnite or not, you cannot deny the player base numbers are astronomical almost at all times. And so I think, relatively speaking, people have to keep things in perspective with regards to player base numbers and whether or not a game is actually dying. As long as the developers are able to continue to put forth a bunch of content, new characters, new maps, new modes, new events, all of that kind of good stuff, we are not in any danger of the game dying anytime soon. And that's, again, one thing that I feel like people lose sight of when you have so many people playing. You have 100,000 just on Steam, let alone Xbox, PlayStation, etc. So I feel like it's something that you definitely have to understand with regards to these numbers. Yes, it's significantly lower than the peak, but I would love for people to point out any game that continues to keep its peak player base after launch, after it's really got the most exciting time in the history of the game. It's just not possible. It doesn't happen. And as long as the overall player base numbers are such that the developers can continue to make money and fund all of the different content that we look forward to, then I'm not at all concerned about this game dying. Yes, you might get a little burnt out. Yes, there's going to be times where you might want to put the game down and play other things. That's perfectly acceptable. You shouldn't, in my opinion, only play one game forever and never play anything else, because not only is that boring, not only will you burn yourself out, but also there's just no way you can continue to have fun and enjoy video games if you are playing that way forever. It's just not possible. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like the video as always, comment, subscribe, have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.